Hi guys, I'm going to do a quick video here on an update of the fuel injection intake I'm working on. Now, some of you seem to have gotten a little confused and have been asking me about clearance for the water neck and the distributor on this side. And I've gotten most of this done. As you can see, I've made a lid, a spacer, I got the throttle body hooked up. So the project's moving along. I still need to do fuel injection drilling. I'm probably going to do that at Cadco so that they have the program to be able to do these intakes. Even if you don't do this style of throttle body, you could do one of the dual quad with two throttle bodies on it, or even a single big, maybe Dominator style throttle body in the middle with fuel injection. That would help eliminate the fuel distribution problems with this intake if you do a center carb. But that's not what we're talking about today. And those are options, and that's part of the reason I want to do some of this at Cadco instead of me just doing a one-off on my hand mill. Now, like I said, some of you have gotten a little confused because you're asking about the water neck and the distributor. And you're thinking that the intake was designed to go this direction, and it's not. I could probably run it this direction, but instead of running a 1.25" spacer, I would need about a 5" spacer and put the throttle body further out here. That would give us room behind the throttle body for the water neck and a distributor if you wanted to run a regular style distributor. And I might make that part. That wasn't the original design. I could do a flat plate and maybe a couple of tubes and make enough breathing room up here, and we'll look into maybe doing that. But this originally started with Courtney, and what he asked was for a really, really low profile intake. And he wanted it fuel injection, and I told him we could do a cover up here with a throttle body up here, and he didn't like that idea. He wanted it lower profile than that. And so this is what I kind of dreamed up. And of course, he never got to see it. I didn't actually get it built until after he passed away. But his thinking is not this direction. What he asked for was an intake that sat this way. Sorry, I got my mic hooked up on it. That sat this way on the motor. And his thinking was that on the Eldorado, he needed it to be real low profile because the motor sits up and you don't have a lot of hood clearance. He wanted it to be fuel injection, and when I told him I didn't have a lot of room up front here, he's like, on the Eldorado, we've got like 1.5 feet before the firewall in the back. We've got lots of room in the back. I was like, well, I can put the throttle body in the back, and then you can run it that way. I said, but the intake will be backwards. And he's like, not for what I'm thinking about. He says, if we put it in the back, then we can probably run 2 little turbos right off of the headers and come up. So he could use his regular header for the Eldorado, 2 small turbos, and plumb them up to this. Sorry, I forgot about my phone. Plumb that up to the throttle body, and it'd be fuel injected to deal with the boost. And so this is what started this design for this particular intake. It's really meant to go this way. That's why this is short. And so that's the thinking, and that's why you would still have room up here for the distributor and the water neck, and everything accessory-wise would be the same up here on the Eldorado. So you'd literally have an intake that could bolt in, and then I'm guessing he was dreaming on a kit, which I'm not sure we'll ever get to that part. But I wanted to at least finish the intake. It was sitting on my bench, and I want to see if I can make it work. And since a lot of you are thinking the other way, I'm starting to think maybe I should make the bigger spacer and move this throttle body out so we can try it the other way. But this was the original thinking on this intake. And that's why some of you got confused about how the accessories were going to work up front, because you were thinking throttle body up front. Um, so this is like I said, the vision of this intake was this direction. So I hope that kind of clears up some things. Um, I know this is different than how most people think, and sometimes what Courtney asked for was certainly different than what people thought. I kind of like the idea, and like I said, I had it about half done. We had done a previous video on this intake, and I was tired of seeing it on the bench. I am trying to finish it up to where it'll actually run, and we'll see how it does, because I also need to run it on the dyno and see if it behaves itself at all. But of course, I've got a lot more stuff going on now that I'm having to do other things at Cadco, and I've got a couple of big motors I've got to build. But I am trying to push this along. And the next task on this is to get fuel rails done and the intake drilled for fuel injectors. Both of those programs will then be at Cadco, so that if you wanted to use this intake maybe without this throttle body, like I said, you could do, there are Dominator throttle bodies. We could do a different top, and still just drill the intake so that it was fuel injected. I'm also going to still add a divider down the middle of this, because low RPM power is really about airspeed, and I need to pick up the airspeed a little bit, I think, on this to run. Now, fuel injection isn't as much of a problem, because fuel distribution is better, because the injectors are actually in the ports. But this is a short runner intake, and I do need to try and compensate a little bit for the shortness of the runner. Otherwise, the power band is going to shift up too high on me, and I don't want that. That's part of the reason I used this throttle body, where it has two separate throttle bodies, and I kept it divided in the spacer and the intake, so that if I divide it, it's actually being fed from a separate throttle body on each side in order to increase the airspeed. So that's a quick update on this. I know it's not a very long video. I am going to keep trying to move it around and move it along, and we will be trying it on the dyno to see how it works, because we need to make sure that it's going to run okay before anybody else tries this. So that was how this was planned to go. Like I said, maybe with the change in things, I will make another spacer and see if maybe we can turn it around and run it the other way and still get all the accessories in. That we'll have to mock up. This is just sitting on my welding block, so I'm hoping you can see okay, because it's pretty dirty motor, and so I know it's going to be kind of black in the background. So that's just a quick update on what's going on with this fuel injection intake, and I did get some work done, and I hope all your projects are going along great. I've got a lot to do, not just this. We're building several bigger motors, so I've got stuff I got to get done at Cadco, and I've also got a 36 straight 6 I need to build, and a small block Chevy blower motor I need to build. So I've got a lot going on, but we will keep trying to move everything along, and I hope you luck on all your projects. Have a good day. Bye.